In the last video, we finished modeling this shell underneath the stadium seating, and in this video we're just going to refine it slightly, as well as add a couple of details such as the balustrade, the columns, and a couple of details to the stadium. We're going to do this quite quickly since it can be quite repetitious to or at least repetitive to what we've been doing earlier with the other balustrade. So I know that there's quite a lot of geometry to create. Most of it, as mentioned, is just a repetition really of everything else. So let's just jump right into it. First of all, just to finish tweaking this form that we created last time, we notice here that it has quite a big gap in between the seating here. So we want to just bring that curve in a little bit tighter. So what we'll do to achieve that is we're going to select these two objects, isolate them, and we're going to add a line of edges roughly here. We can then control and click on the vertices, and we can slide them down with the edge constraint in place, just to bring them slightly closer . Just going to redo that. I'm going to add a chamfer to that. And also in plan view, I think that we can bring them a little bit closer to the actual edge here. We can see that that's where that gap has been forming. That's what we want to avoid. Let's just undo our edge constraint. Bring that in. Pull that out. This is where I have that little chamfer, so it should create a tighter edge for me there. And let's bring all these edges a little bit closer to our model. Let's try using the gnomes, look at it in perspective. And this is just a little bit of refinement. We can keep refining as long as we need to, until we feel satisfied that in fact it is what you're looking for. If this is too tight, you can then just widen that chamfer a little bit. But I'm going to skip right past, not harbor too long on these details. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create the edge to this huge overhang. Here underneath we will have these columns, which we can turn back on, which is should be the column layer. They haven't been mirrored, so let's work on this side rather. And these are the columns that are holding this cantilever here. So what we want to do is we want to create a nice thick edge to this building here, and that will wrap around that slab there. So we can choose to either use the elevation. There isn't too much information on the elevation, so we can just start by using the information on this building itself. So we can select these edges. And from those edges, let's just do a create shape. Now that shape, let's sweep it. And here you just want to perhaps turn off banking. That's going to rotate it as it goes around corners. Don't really need to smooth anything since this is quite geometric. And you want to just visually work on this. Here I've turned on the toggle to show the final view, the final look. So I can work on the sub-objects. Let's just turn off our layers here. So here we still notice some odd banking which we can edit later. Can edit that once we're back in the edit poly mode. So what essentially we've done here is we've just created this nice thick edge to our slab. Can maybe make it 0.6 thick, slightly wider, and we can lift it up ever so slightly just so we can cover that edge. This edge over here, we can pull in. And I'm just copying this Y value for this vertex here. So now if I look at what we've created is we've got this little edge going here that kind of wraps around. And we want to create a extension of these columns and then the balustrade that goes around. So let's extend these guys. And actually we don't need to extend all of them, just the ones on the outside. So let's just see which ones we need to modify. So here, this one in the middle is actually slightly lower. I think it was moved here at the bottom, so we can manually go and fix that if we need to. We can have a look at the height that should have been. I'm just going to do it by eye to not take too much time so we can fly through this section. And in terms of extrude height, I'm just going to bring them down so that they're just sitting around about there. And we can actually go and delete the columns that we don't need later. We just need to fill up the surrounds with the columns that are required, so we can keep editing that. Let's take this edge and now, using the working pivot, let's mirror that around, instance it. And let's take these two objects and let's create a balustrade as well. So we'll isolate that. And I'm just going to create a new line which uses corners. Look at it in this view. And we're just going to create that to follow around. I think this one needs to be slightly edited. Let's go back into the sub-object there. Let's see what we can snap him onto. So again, you'll see that everything I'm doing is fairly quick, fairly rough. I'm going to extrude this upwards, not by 160, but let's just try 1 meter. And we can see here that we just need to shorten it slightly on the side. We just reduce the X and pull that back. And the side too, we pull back slightly till about there. Well, this is going to be our balustrade right on the top level. And we also want this to kind of be edited down so that we can merge this down with our balustrade. So we want to get this a bit lower as well. I'm going to use that there, maybe roughly there looks about right. We can zoom in and do it in a bit more accuracy if we need to. Right, so that's it for this section. We've added some balustrades to the outsides, which we can mirror across. I'll still fiddle on the side with these columns. All I want to do is basically extrude the columns from the main plan, and we want them to surround underneath this roof. I'm going to do that off camera just because it is quite tedious and time consuming, so I'm just going to copy those columns. And when we get back, we can head on to the next section of adding a little bit more detail here to the stadium seating. We have a net to add, we have a couple of lighting units to pop up, so we'll do that in the next video. So now we have finished some of the detailing in this video, and we'll move straight on to the next one as soon as we can.